We're live, baby.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our meeting, and we'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first thing on our agenda are the minutes.
Yes, and I've had an opportunity, and Kim sent us a correction, I think, that was made in there, and we've got the spelling corrections done on page 2, so I would like to move that the proceedings of the Board of County Commissioners for Montezuma County, August 11, 2020, be approved.
And I'll second that. It has been moved and seconded to approve proceedings of the Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, August 11th, 2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, then we're going to move right into our county administrator's report. Shaq?
Which I was asked to move this to the beginning. So, the first thing I need to do is a correction from last week. The resolution that we did should have been resolution number 13 instead of number 12, sorry, instead of 9. So if we could just give Kim permission to correct that in the notes.
I would move that we give our Montezuma County Clerk, Kim Purcell, the right to change the the 2020, what was that, Shaq, from 9 to 12? Okay.
Is that right, Kim? Was it 12? I thought it was 13, but it's.
I think it's 13.
Oh, okay, 13.
Okay.
To change it at her discretion, whatever she figures.
Yeah, to keep our numbers in sequence, I move that we let our county clerk keep our numbers in sequence as she should.
And I'll second that. So it's been moved and seconded to let Kim Purcell, our county clerk, move the resolution from 9 to 12 or 13 to keep it in sequence with the 2020 resolutions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then I've been in touch with Region 9 regarding our CARES Act funding that we got our approval for, which is $1.3 million. And we're going to have Laura Lewis coming up on one of the upcoming agendas, and we're going to talk about what it takes to when this COVID first started, we moved our money from a revolving trust fund or revolving loan fund to the general fund to make loans available for businesses that were hit due to COVID. Now that we're getting this money back, what we'd like to do is pay off those loans and then make grant money available to businesses that are still struggling as a result of COVID. Some of the difference will be they won't have to show credit reports and all that because it won't be a loan. All they'll have to do is show 2 years of P&Ls so that we can see that there was a hit so we can prove to the state there was a hit due to COVID and make up some of that money for our businesses. So Laura Lewis will be here in the next couple of weeks to update us on that. Then Southwest Health Systems has been part of an agreement with the detox that's run by Axis over in Durango. And in the 5-county area, the people contributing financially on the east side of the mountain have been the city of Durango, the city of Bayfield, La Plata County, Fort Lewis College, the town of Ignacio, the Southern Ute tribe, and Archuleta County. And on the west side of the mountain, Southwest Health Systems has been covering the bill for the whole thing. And so none of the municipalities or local governments have been contributing to that. If we're to break it down per cap of who's using the rehab and Montezuma County were to contribute, it'd be right in the neighborhood of $5,000 a year to help with our residents. And with that, we would gain access to the financials of the rehab facility, and we would have a seat on the board making decisions for the rehab facility. So I'm moving towards putting us in on that agreement with the rehab to give us a decision-making process with the rehab.
That's through Axis, is that correct? That
That's
gives
through
us a-
Axis, and right now Southwest Health System is the only one on our side of the mountain that's
It's on the-
involved in the
I
decision-making
got you.
process.
This
of
is
the
a
financial.
significant change.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this sounds like it would, the way it should have been.
It does, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, we should have a say, but
Yeah.
I don't know. So Mercy does not contribute, for example. Southwest Health Systems does. We haven't been contributing, but all the municipalities and counties.
Has Cortez, Dolores, and Mank, do any
No,
of those?
nobody on the west side.
Nobody on the
county.
west side contributes at all?
So that was my question
Yeah.
to Shaq or whoever was, wait, what about County of Dolores? What about Town of Mancos? What about, and
Right.
so we can offer and suggest that they contribute as well.
Well, but the fact is, if we don't pull up a chair at the table, we've got no right to gripe about what's going on.
Oh, I think Shaq's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I think it only makes sense
I do
that,
too.
that
Right.
we, our role should be commensurate with, the counties and municipalities that are contributing. We do want a role in this. So it
Yeah.
absolutely makes sense to go in this direction.
Because we need that service, and we use that service, and we use it fairly consistently, don't we, Steve? Yeah, so.
And we need a seat at the table.
I'm with you, Shaq. If $5,000 will buy us a seat on that board where we can have some influence on the decision-making process of Access, I think we do it sooner than later.
Well, it won't start till next year regardless, but.
Well, I think that should be a definite budget item, Shaq. I think that should be I think hallelujah at last.
I'll bring up, so I'm on the 15 commissioners tomorrow that has the meeting with the Attorney General
Uh-huh.
of Colorado for the $175 million
Yeah.
opioid settlement.
Good.
And actually, I'm one of the speakers on a talking point with them, but right now, it's 15-15-70. The Attorney General wants to have 70% of the $175 million. He would have control of it. We are advocating that it's 50-50.
There you go.
And the 50%, so 50% of $175 million would go directly to the counties.
Amen.
And then that money would
Amen.
be used for regional. They have these regions which would be amongst the counties, a discussion of where to put this facility. And then the money would go towards financing that, building it, and then operating it.
Mm-hmm.
So as with most things, I mean, I think we certainly should support
Yeah.
keeping as much money local and us having control over that as possible, rather than having it through the AG.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y- and every time we see something coming out of Denver, it's funding for rehabs, funding for this, but not for Southwest Colorado. That's how the headlines always
Well,
read.
they're trying to, so the Attorney General wants to do it through per capita, meaning that we would lose out. Rural counties would lose out.
Yeah.
Urban would gain the majority of the money. And so we're also working on where the need is, where the biggest needs are. Well, we've already read the report about the needs are right here in
Absolutely, they are.
rural Colorado.
And I'm sure the sheriff, when he gets up in a few minutes, can tell us a little bit more about the needs, and George Devers will this afternoon, too. The other thing, I was involved in a conversation with Charge Ahead Colorado tomorrow, or yesterday, sorry. I guess I wasn't involved in anything tomorrow yet. Anyways, they are trying to get fast chargers located on the San Juan Scenic Byway. They don't have any for the west side of it. And if you remember last year when we were discussing fast chargers, the big roadblock was Empire Electric and the demand charge for anything that went over 75 kilowatts. It was going to be, whatever. Well, they've got fast chargers. Oh, somebody came in that's not muted. Give me a second. They have, they've come up with fast chargers now that run from 50 to 60.2 kilowatts to avoid that demand charge. And so what would be involved in that grant sometime in the 2021 cycle is a 20% match. I'm waiting for Patrick to get back from vacation, Patrick Rondinelli with DOLA, but they seem to think that we could get one of their alt fuels grant to use that 20% match.
Great.
So I'd like to pursue that, see if somewhere in the county we can get one of those fast chargers that would fall under the kilowatt hours or the kilowatts that would require the huge demand charge.
Man charge, boy, that sounds like a smart move,
that
Shaq.
was
I think
Part
we
of our
should.
conversation with the Southwest TPR on Thursday also.
Yeah.
They're again, we'll see that, they're trying to do that. Conversation came up again about the battery packs, to trickle charge the battery packs. But there again, the cost is
Exorbitant, yeah.
extremely.
Well, I think this will be a great thing to pursue, and the gentleman that's going to replace me on this commission, Commissioner Kent Lindsay, is on the board of Empire Electric, so I think that will enable this discussion to get a little bit more relevant as you go on. So I think pursue it. I think pursue it.
All
Pursue
right,
it.
well, I told the gentleman at Charge Ahead that if the commission was on board, I would set up a time in the coming weeks for them to do a presentation. However, you're going to be gone most of the next coming weeks. We could do that in October.
Well, I hate to see you put that off just because I may not be here. I think do it at the most convenient time for them and for us to get this ball rolling and not miss out on this grant. So, and you might, well, no, I won't say that. So.
Okay. And then the last thing as part of my report is I met with the fair board last night. They did put on a good fair, as close to normal as they could.
Amen, they did.
Not everything went perfectly, but I think they need to hear how good of a job they've done. And I'll try to get Alan here in the next couple of weeks to give us a report as well. But today will be mostly consumed with land use code stuff. On the concert, they only ended up taking about a $5,000 hit, which, considering the size of band they brought in and all the restrictions of this year, we were expecting a loss, and that's not as bad as we thought it could have been. So, anyways, hopefully in the next week or two, we'll have Alan here to give us an update on fair as well. And that concludes my report, unless the commissioners have any questions.
I have none.
Thank you, Shaq. We'll go to the emergency manager update with Jim Spratlin.
Good morning, Jim.
Morning, Jack.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, John. So, you have a busy agenda, so I'll make this short. I do have my report. You should have that. You can go through that at your convenience for details.
Jim, one question before you proceed on that.
Yeah.
At the end of your report, your financial, the $173,000 that you say are COVID-related or whatever, that you break all that down.
Yes, sir.
At the very end of that, you have Region 9, what was it, EDC or DDC or something on that, to the tune of $30,000 and $40,000. Thank you, Shaq. You're on it, buddy.
Yep, those are the,
Right there, yeah, Region 9 EDD, 5,000 and 40. What is that? Could you-
those are the loans.
The loans, okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
so the
Economic
5,000,
development
40,000,
stuff? Gotcha.
35,000.
Okay.
That's, there's
Thank you.
three accounts
Yeah,
that we use for COVID, so.
okay. Hey, you cleared that right up for me.
Okay.
Thank you, buddy.
Good.
Appreciate it.
So schools are back. They're going back, started yesterday.
Yesterday
Yep,
from
yep.
Montezuma, yeah.
Yep, so we're going to be monitoring that, see how that works. We're pretty much, I've got the schools in our virtual MAC group so that we can all start discussing this a little more detail, see what's going to happen in the next month. So we're keeping an eye on all of that. 7-day, 14-day, actually for you guys, a month review. We're still trying to figure out protect your neighbor phase with the governor. So been working with admin on that. The hospital beds, 75% full capacity. They're pretty busy, not COVID related, and we have 2 ICU beds available there. I've written all of the schools and when they're going to start. The 17th, of course, Cortez started here, and then Mancos and the rest follow. We did have bats in the belfry, and we did have mice in the toilet, but we handled that, so we haven't seen any problems in the building. That was a lot of emergency management on Monday, I think. Wildland fires, we did really well on those for costs, other than some in-kind that the sheriff had to work on with his overtime. He can give some information on that. The latest fire danger ratings in there for everybody to look at, and we're still pretty high. We're up at that, the 91st percentile. So we just have to be careful. Yesterday, driving home, I heard we got a lightning strike in Memphis, so I spun back around. It hit a tree, and the fire department knocked it out pretty fast. So we did well there. 116 positive, that just went up, and we've been running at 112 for a little bit. So yesterday there's 4 of them. So we're at 116.
Were those 4 from the last large testing that they did in Memphis?
No,
To
the
the
last,
best of my knowledge, the last mass testing produced 0 positives. A lot of the positives we've been seeing are from people going in for surgeries that have to get a pre-op COVID test.
so we were good on that,
So our
so.
hospital is doing they're doing a lot of elective procedures. That's why our hospital is as busy as
Yep.
they are, correct? Okay.
Yeah, that's where we're seeing it. And then administratively, working on the hazard mitigation plan. We're getting money back, 27,000. The next report is in September. We made our match and our in-kind funding. So all we're down to is 2,750 out of that 43,000. So pretty happy with that. Pretty happy with that. So we're moving ahead. We got the project schedules on schedule. We should have that finished today, and then once we're pretty sure that that draft is ready to go, it goes to the state. The state takes a while to approve it, then we take it back and take it to the feds, and so we should be on schedule by, hopefully, the final review we're going to put out for the public. So we'll get that hazard mitigation plan done.
Can I ask you a question on what's on the screen here?
Yes, sir.
It says deaths 3 from COVID, 1 with COVID.
Yes,
If you Google Montezuma County, it shows 5.
yes. And there's an issue with that.
Could somebody?
think-
Our
elaborate?
coroner.
I think George Devers is going to take that ball up this afternoon.
Okay. all right.
Yeah, he's got that monster he's dealing with out of Denver, so, yes, sir. So we've been approved 25,000 for emergency managers performance grants, so that'll be coming in. And then just working on training, exercise, resource mobilization plans. We did get a lot of resources in. It had nothing to do with me calling the state over and over, but I think we got a lot of PPE, 8 pallets worth. So,
That was a question that I was going to ask
Yes.
you. The email that I'd sent to you guys, Karen, yourself, so on and so forth, from Senator Quorum, asking if we needed anything else, and I hadn't had the opportunity to respond back to him, but that might have been some of that.
could have been,
From our requests previously.
outstanding, good.
So are we good with what we have now, or are there any more needs
The,
looking forward to what?
yes, I think our only need right now are those procedure masks that John's wearing, those types. We have enough to get through, but that's where we're a little bit limited. That and, so I'm gonna be talking to the state this week again and see what I can put in for that order.
So if you'll let me know how many you're needing, I'll also send that email back to Senator Quorum also
Okay, great,
through the state.
thank you. Yeah, he's pretty good at helping us, so.
So Jim, on this, the confirmed positives, we got it showing that this is our most recent update.
Yes, sir.
The 116 positives, we got active 16. And so if you was to take an average, starting from March 15th when this started to up to this date, are we right about in the same positive rate as far as so many per week that we have been in?
I think so, yes. I think we're at that same curve, if not dropping a little bit on that.
And the way that that curve works is, so say if somebody has COVID and they, or to infect somebody, that, does it, the time frame, is it a 2-week time frame that would show up if they had been tested 2 weeks after?
I'm not the medical people. I'm going to say 5 to 7 days, and then they can test positive for that, I believe. But I could be wrong. I'm not, I've heard so much on how it works.
So, but it would be safe to say that if it is 5 to 7 days, and we've been having the stock car races since, I believe, in May. We had a concert. We've had a rodeo about every 2 or 3 weeks. We've also had the county fair. It would be safe to say that those events have not affected our COVID positive case number to increase.
I guess you could say that, yeah. I think it's difficult because people can get COVID, they stay home, they get over it, nobody tests them. And then we get a lot of tests from, not a lot of tests, but we get several tests of out of state, so we don't count them here. But they may be staying here. So it's kind of an interesting system. I don't think it's as clear as I'd like it.
Target all the time.
There's not enough there for me to gather enough information for stats, but we are at least at 30, what was it, 39? So we're well over 10% of our population, that's been tested. I'm willing to say that, yeah, so it's, I'm really hoping and praying it just keeps this way in the schools, things like that, so.
And I have a graph of exactly what it's done on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and you'll see that this here is August 7th, and from August 7th to 15 was only 1 case, and from August 7th till now, we've only had 4 cases.
Yeah, on the left-hand sides, we're talking
And,
2, 4, and 6. You're
Y-
not
you know,
talking 10, 20, 40.
No, we're not talking big.
And the fair started here, so we don't see.
Yeah, and we had several events out there. We had the demolition derby where there were 300 or 400 people there, the concert and the livestock auction with several hundreds of people in attendance to all those events, and nothing changed. Or what changed was not markedly different than what we've had all along anyway, so. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad our county fair pulled it off and had such a good fair and didn't have any negative results from it. It's a good thing.
It's a good turnout, too. A lot
Great
of it.
turnout. Yeah, I think everything went really good with it. Okay.
So that's a quick one on that. I'll let the sheriff take over. Any questions, gentlemen?
Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Thanks for making those PPEs available, and thank you for helping out the way you have in those, so
Well,
appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Good
Yep.
support. Thanks.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Lauren, Steve?
Thanks for letting me squeeze in here.
Sure.
I have
Absolutely.
traffic control duty this afternoon and can't deal with that.
Can't miss that.
You're out on patrol duty, huh, man?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So,
boy.
Where are we at?
Keeps you in touch with your community, Sheriff. Yeah.
No kidding. I don't see it here. Let's try that.
I still have this long cable here if you need
In
it.
case that we got a backup over here, yeah, you've got that.
There we go. It's thinking about it. Ta-da!
Here you are.
Okay, we're gonna make this short and sweet. For the month of July, our calls for service, you'll see it's come down 1,601. The reason being is that, remember that I've talked to you in the past about dispatch fees, and I'm trying to reduce those calls so we don't get charged so much.
I got you.
Since apparently the sheriff's office is the -- contributor to our
Yeah.
dispatch fees.
You're their main
So,
artery, Steve. You're their
you know,
main artery, man.
So I reduced those dispatch calls for extra patrol and business checks just alone because those were very large, as you saw.
Sure, big numbers.
And so the only thing that's in there now for extra patrol responses to CAD and business checks are those businesses and residences that have requested those patrols. And so that has that has actually dropped down to, let's look at business checks here real quick. Come on, go. Business checks at 92. And that's for the month of July, and our extra patrols at 91. Those were done, those are basically all residential subdivisions and farms and ranches that requested some extra patrols out there. So we're still up on violence crimes as well as domestic violence, unfortunately. Disturbances, we're getting a lot more of our drug problems are starting to surface again. Just to give you an update that hopefully this month, so when I report in September or October, you'll see a large increase of unlawful marijuana cultivation. Cases will go up. Just last Friday, we took down one unlawful grow that came from a writ of restitution and assistance on a foreclosure. So we had a large grow in there that was unlawful. We've got approximately 45 identified. That's going to take some time for us, so we're going to be very busy the next 2 months taking care of those. A lot of compliance checks are being taken care of right now and have been for the last 60 days for those that can lawfully possess cultivated marijuana, and those that are over by anywhere from 2 to 10. They have just been, they've destroyed the plants to keep them within legal limits. And just reports have been written. There haven't been any cites on that. As far as our jail, I can show you that we have a population today of 70. And I'm going to
That's great.
tell you that we're still COVID-free. It was kind of interesting. In one of the pods, we had one inmate that reported that he was ill. However, there was no symptoms of this. All of the inmates that were in this pod were requested to take COVID tests. 2 of them did. The rest declined. They were all negative, and it was all because of one inmate trying to make a issue. So he was quarantined for 14 days, and he's all healthy now. So I think he was after 2 days. So so we're okay. But with Jim Spratlin and Karen Dixon have really helped in getting a lot of the supplies for PPE in the jail that we needed for not only our deputies, but especially for the inmates. We now have usable masks that can be laundered properly and used over and over, and that's good. So we can increase our face masks for inmates, 2 a week, and those are constantly being done now. Everybody's been real good with it. I got to say, it's been pretty good in the jail with it. So good. We're doing good. We're holding at 70 inmates, so that's not bad. Jail transports, here's for the year, January through July. This is our transport reports. We're starting to see that we don't have a lot of transports going in or out. We were able to get rid of the 9 inmates being held for DOC. However, DOC just last Thursday or Friday, cut us off again. They've got another outbreak at their receiving facilities, so we're on hold, and we have 5 waiting to go that have been sentenced. So just to let you know, it's back and forth. But
You keep billing them $75 a day.
we do. We don't get that, but yeah, we do.
Back pay.
Have
You're
been.
gonna show the state they owe it. They have a deficit with us, and it's accruing interest and penalties. And
Yes, yes. So this just shows to our male and female population numbers and the total numbers that we had from July 1 through the 31st. As you can see, We've had some days that were heavy, others that we were able to get back out rather quickly, either through bonding pretrial or PR bonds from the court. This is what I'd like to show you as far as our daily arrest and release from July 1 through the 31st. You can see how it goes. 1, 2, 4 come in, 1, 3, 5 go out.
Yeah.
It's a constant roving citation that we have with this procedure. On the 21st, we had 10 arrests with
Big
1
day.
out. So, yeah. That's when we started reducing and opening back up in stages. The 21st was a day. We are fully open now. So we had, a total of 81. We're down to 69. Today we have 70. We haven't gone over that in the past several weeks, so we're holding pretty good right now. And I appreciate all of the law enforcement officers and the courts working with us on those things. We've got a system now that seems to work, and our criminal justice system is working. So, for the City of Cortez, municipal courts just now started getting in session. There was only 1 arrest, incarceration from the City of Cortez for 1 day in July. I think we'll start to see some of those go up in the month of August. You'll see that next month. This is Dolores County. 11 days on an inmate. They were billed $825 for that inmate. And Department of Corrections, again, most of these folks were transferred out before they had another COVID outbreak, and so we have 5 being held now. But they were billed at $75 a day, but if you look at $129 by what the state was allowing, $58.56 reimbursement, that's only $7,554. So with $75 a day, you're going to see that DOC will actually be billed the 75. The 56 is just showing what they are showing that they're going to reimburse. So 129 days times $75. That's what they're billed. This is what we get. So, okay. Total cost for prisoners in the month of July, $154,000 plus. And the sheriff's fees that were collected in the month of July. You'll see here that DOC actually reimbursed us $11,360 for just at the $58.56 a day inmate cost, but we received a total of $96,423.16 into the general fund. Okay. Ready for the bad news? See here that DOC
There isn't any bad news.
actually reimbursed us.
I'm
gonna hold you to that, okay?
Steve, I've got a
for,
question for
just
you.
over
I go by your yard
56
most
cents
every day at one point or
a day,
another, and there's that Range
inmate cost,
Rover and those
but we
5
received a
motorcycles
total of
out there that were confiscated and-
$96,423.
Yeah,
Yeah, they still haven't picked those up.
What's that?
They still haven't picked those up.
Who picks them? What do you mean?
The owner
owners?
out of Albuquerque.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do they owe you money for them?
No, they were actually stolen and recovered here. So that's why they're in the yard. It's not to bill them. But if they don't, we send them notice. In fact, I think that was already in the works. They had 10 days to come and get them. If not, we're going to turn them back over to the tow company. And then they actually charge storage fees.
Okay.
I try not to re-victimize a victim.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? You got to come and get your property.
Gosh,
okay?
yeah.
We can't hold it forever.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I would
the,
think if those, so you've contacted the owners and they're
Oh, yeah.
supposed to come pick up and they, and
Yeah.
they're not doing it.
No.
They've been there a
long
couple of
time.
months, huh?
Yeah,
they've been there
long
quite a
time.
while.
Yeah.
It's been like 3 or 4 months.
Can you tell them, if not picked up by the 1st of September, we're gonna auction them off and, pay our storage bill with the proceeds?
Well, we don't charge storage.
Well,
so-
maybe you should.
Okay. Well, that's
I'll
re-victimizing
pay
the
for that
victim.
building out there.
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna have to, I don't think if somebody steals my car, I should have to
Well,
pay the sheriff's
but
office.
but you've given them, how many notices have you given
I
them to
know.
come get their stuff?
that's why they were sent a letter to come and get them within 10 days, or we're going to have to return them to the tow company who towed them.
Right. And
I
that-
mean,
Okay.
that's.
The
that's
tow
what the
company has a
company-
financial interest in them. So they still have a tow bill they need to pay, but they have no storage bill. Okay? So,
Yeah, I don't think it behooves Montezuma County to be a storage yard for somebody's equipment or vehicles that they've been told to come and get, that they've been recovered, come get your stuff and come get it.
so this is the letter I received July 1st from the Department of Corrections. Our state legislators have reduced your daily reimbursement by 59 cents. That's to help, I guess, their
So they've reduced it.
shortfall, okay?
So they've reduced, that's gonna help their budget shortfall, huh?
I don't know.
Oh, my God.
Okay. Well, I told you that
Oh,
this
my.
may be coming, so here it came, okay? But thank God it was only 59 cents and not more, okay? But still, it should go up, not go down.
We're still, we're still losing money.
We're still, our taxpayers are paying for these inmates. Yes, they are.
I may respond to that letter if that's okay. I'll
Um,
CC
Sure.
you and I'll increase our rates.
Sure.
No.
I agree with you, John. What do you do? You know, We're-
Just to maintain the record of, oh, we
Sure.
see that you're doing this, actually our rates are this.
yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, I also want to tell you thank you for reinstituting the roof project. Thanks. We had so many leaks going on that
Yeah.
it was starting to become a swamp in there, so, but thanks, so, all right.
You gotta keep a roof over your head, man. Even if DOC
I don't wanna
won't
swim.
pay you enough money to keep your facility open, you
Yeah.
still gotta keep a roof on them.
We have to get,
Well, I would like to see you in waders because that means we're getting some moisture.
Moisture, yeah, right. It's not leaking. I hear you, Jim. That's
Gotcha.
a good tact. Good tact.
Thank you, Sheriff. Any questions, Commissioners?
I have none.
All right, folks, we'll get started in about 6 minutes. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff. Yeah, John, I think you should definitely write them a letter.
I mean, it's not gonna do anything other than just keep
No, no.
maintaining the record.
That keeps us on record of stating
Right.
what we're stating, that our costs are this, and you are paying us this, and therefore.
You're ignoring the letter we send you that says these are our rates. We're ignoring yours.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of ignoring going on, yeah, I got you.
And that's the guy who I was communicating with.
Yeah, gotcha.
So he knows. I mean,
Yeah.
smile.
So I'm gonna ask a couple of questions after she reads the public notice, and when I do that, then you'll be able to look on this to see if there's anybody that'd like to respond to the questions on Zoom. Would that be complicated?
No, we can go through, there's only a few words in, and then I've got the YouTube comments right here, and then we've got all these people in the room. I would say we should go through the people in the room first, and then Zoom, and always
The
get the
question
people
is,
involved
is
with the show.
the question is a question that might change the whole thing.
Maybe that comes from Dawn. Well, I don't know.
By setback, Commissioner Sikla. I don't really want to sit up here, but I was just, you know.
That's all right.
Thought I'd do that.
It's all right.
Sorry, Dawn. Do we want?
Was it P&Z the last time somebody tried this?
Yeah, we can do that.
What's that?
Are you P&Z the last time somebody was right there during a public hearing? I about had to hit the guy in the nose. He came up here and his speech and all he has to do is give his name and address.
Jim sent me that text and I was like,
I know. I didn't download that. It came to me and I didn't download the full message. I looked at the agenda and all the
That's what I
sheriff's
did.
attachments. I didn't download the full. Hell, I just showed up here at my normal time and I was lucky. I mean, I missed it too, buddy. I missed it too.
but when he said, I'm like, what? What are you
What?
talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about? Yeah, I walked in here about 8 o'clock and he says, yeah, we're starting in 15 minutes. I said, well,
It all worked out.
what's this about? Huh? What's that about? Social distancing? Oh, nice.
Oh, you want to hear a funny story?
Yeah.
Around that buddy of hers had some other problems. Went to the gun show. He said, well, we're not gonna let you in this week. And he says, and he carries a tape measure.
That's a problem.
I said, we can't. And he said, we're gonna go by all the rules. Then you have to stay 6 feet away from me, so go ahead.
It doesn't
I'm all for
And
it.
then him and Gail, but they kicked him out. But I thought that was pretty cool.
Good angle, that's right, good angle. You want to do your part, well, let's do your part.
You guys already did the pledge.
These are both
Did you
general
already do
fund.
the pledge?
Yeah, yeah.
We're over
Yeah, Jim went ahead, we just opened.
Okay.
Did the minutes, about all we did was the minutes.
Do we actually have a list of 5 proposals, land use? Is that? Don should have a list. Don, I wonder if, does everybody have a copy of that list? I think it's,
I
do you
don't,
remember everything?
I may have it way back in my file somewhere, but I don't have it in front of me.
Do you guys remember everything?
Well, it was the setbacks, and it was the setbacks, the building envelope adjoining.
I won't do it today.
Shaq, do you have an electronic rendition of the
The
5
5
changes?
proposal, the 5
The
basic
proposals
changes
for
we've been
land
discussing.
Changes?
Somewhere.
I think all we're gonna hear is about the 1 acre.
Yeah, but
1 acre,
we're gonna-
but I hear you. I hear-
I got a question to ask. and then we're gonna
Give
have
me a
discussion.
second,
Okay,
I'll find it.
good.
Commissioner.
Oh, they are? On this?
Okay.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, it is 9 o'clock, and so we're going to get started. I want to remind you that we know why a lot of you are here, and we're glad to see you. We're glad to hear your comments. This meeting here, there is going to be no decisions made on the updates to the land use code. This meeting is to hear comments from the people that live here and your concerns and thoughts about these proposals. So we want to make it clear that there is not going to be a decision made today on the proposed changes, but we want to hear from you. So with that, we're going to open the public hearing with Kim, then we'll go with Don. He's going to give us some background, and Jane some background information about these proposals. We'll have a discussion with the commissioners, and then we'll open it up to public comments. So Kim, the floor is yours.
Commissioner Sukla.
Here.
Commissioner Attell.
Present.
Commissioner Candelaria.
Here.
Administrator Powers.
Here.
Attorney Baxter.
Here.
Kim Purcell, Montezuma County Clerk and Recorder. Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners will hold its first public hearing for review and discussion of possible changes to the county land use code. The hearing will be held Tuesday, August 18th, 2020 at 9 a.m. in the Commissioners' Hearing Room, Montezuma County Administrative Offices, 109 West Main, Room 250, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Office online service at https://montezuma-co.smartgovcommunity.com public homes. Under Other Services, Documents icon. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. Dated this 28th day of July 2020, Kim Purcell, Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado. Published in the Cortez Journal on Wednesday, July 29th and August 5th, 2020.
Thank you, Ms. Purcell. We appreciate that. We're going to go to Don Jane now, and he's going to give us an overview of the proposed changes.
Okay, so, the way this came about is, for some land use code changes, is we'd had, probably a dozen variance setback requests over the last year and a half. And, the commissioners decided to pick some items that they wanted P&Z to review. So they sent it to P&Z. P&Z, during their meeting and after, came back with some recommendations for some changes to the land use code to be reviewed, public comment, and just see what the feeling was around the county. Shaq doesn't have those up. Briefly, they
He's looking for him.
had a setback issue. Currently, it's 50 feet for a residence from a property line or a road right-of-way. They recommended for review that go to
30 feet?
20 feet,
Thought
no,
it was
30 feet on a 3-acre or larger parcel. In the course of their recommendation, they also came up with a 1-acre parcel being allowed in the county, and those setbacks would be 20 feet. The other item was the setback from county road or a highway right-of-way, and they were considering that be 10 feet. So that properties were, you could build up closer to the road surfaces. The other option, or you want to scroll that up, Shaq, please? The other item that was up for discussion was the Dolores River Valley, obviously, and that would be that it's not treated any differently or separately from the rest of the county. So currently, you could have the 3-acre minimum versus a 10-acre minimum. If you go to the 1-acre minimum in the whole county, it would apply to 1 acre in the Dolores River Valley. Another item was the 230-foot diameter circle requirement. The way the land use code states it is that is the building envelope, and it's required to offset long, skinny properties being developed. The old county regulation was a 3-to-1 ratio between length and width. But with all the numerous strange configurations of parcels that are left over and following fence lines, creek beds, all that, the figuring out that calculation was just a pain and a nightmare. So they went with the 230-foot diameter circle. I don't see a problem with that. I just would say we change the wording so that you could build outside of that circle on your property, because a lot of times it might be in the middle of your pond, and there's no reason it has to be the building envelope. But it does give some better configuration of a parcel, and it all goes back to setbacks. If you reduce the setbacks, then you could reduce the circle or eliminate the circle. But what you don't want to do is reduce the circle, and then people come in with these narrow pieces, and then they can't meet the setback because they want to build a house facing the other direction, and it doesn't fit on their property. So it's kind of a...
But as long as the, as long as the setbacks are met, the circle serves no purpose, correct? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. But somebody's gonna, I guarantee you, they'll turn their house the other direction, they can't meet the setbacks because the property's too narrow. And then you have another variance application. But, and I think the other item that was up for discussion was just to review fees in general. P&Z came back and figured that's an administration situation to review what is appropriate, isn't, how it's fitting in with the public, with the county, with the general fund. And we really haven't had any further discussion regarding that. Another item that I added in there was addressing the wildfire mitigation section, because as it currently stands, you have to have a wildfire mitigation plan unless you get a waiver. Wildfire Adaptive in Durango reviews the properties that are up for a subdivision application, but typically they do a drive-by on the county road, but more than likely it's just off of the Google Maps or our county map viewer. And so it's kind of hit or miss on what really needs to be mitigated. And the biggest problem is a lot of these properties are vacant. They don't have a residence on them, so how do you go mitigate if you don't know where the house is going to go and where the driveway is going to go? So the requirement, as it stands now, is that a mitigation plan will be completed prior to the Mylar being signed by BOCC. Well, currently, for the last year and a half, we hadn't had anybody to write fire mitigation plans. We have no authority to go and review whether the work was done or not. If it's in the middle of winter, you're going to have to delay these people for 4 or 5 months to mitigate something where they don't even have a residence there. So it's really asking for a whole lot that I don't think can be enforced, is available, and is pretty restrictive for people to try and accomplish per the letter of the land use code. So my suggestion is we change the wording just so it's not a requirement that a plan is completed. They can still sign the waivers, they can still sign the affidavit. It still puts it on them to do their wildfire mitigation in their subdivision and pass that along to the residents.
So basically, just take it off of the Mylar for signing specifically
Pretty
winter
much.
time, and they can proceed. They
Because
they
it
still-
wasn't actually a signature box on the Mylar, it just required that the plan be completed before BOCC
Sign.
signs the Mylar.
Okay.
So it's great to have the plan, but you have to be able to deal with it and be within reason. You can't force somebody to do something that we can't help them make a plan and enforce the plan and follow up with the plan. Wildfire Adaptive can help them, and they do good outreach and education, and people, when they build now, they understand how important it is. But when we have these subdivisions that can divide outside the planning office, if all the parcels are over 35 acres, they're the ones in the dense forest, and they're not required to do any of that because they don't come through here. So the biggest impact, the biggest, or the most at-risk places, we don't have control over, and the land use code doesn't apply to them in that instance.
There was also some word changing from a
Oh, yeah, it was
adjacent to
the other
adjoining.
one, on the public notice, changing the word adjacent for property owners to adjoining. Because adjacent's too vague, you could be a mile down the road and think that you're adjacent, as versus being adjoining where your corner touches across the road or have common property lines.
And then I don't remember if you had discussed it, but about a business, the inactive a business being inactive for a year?
Right, right. That was the other item was, currently, if you have a high-impact permit and the business ceases to exist for a minimum of 12 months, or it changes ownership, then the new owners, or if you're starting the business back up, you're required to reapply for that high-impact permit.
So
Make
then,
it-
that,
make it
that's just a
transferable.
number designation then from 12 months to whatever, correct? Could be
Say
extended
again?
to 24 or 36.
Or it could be, where there would be no limit.
Indefinite, as
Right.
long as it's
Definitely,
same,
it could
same
be-
usage, same use.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the
So,
high-
yeah, you were looking at changing it, if it stays the same use, even if it's a different owner, or it's sat idle for some time, same use on the same property, then that high-impact permit, as I understood it, could be transferred to the new owner.
Mhm. Mhm.
Is that about it? Planning director?
Pretty much.
So now what we'll do is we're going to open it up for discussion with the commissioners. But before we do that, I have a question for everybody in the room and a question for everybody that is participating on Zoom. The question that I would like to ask, is there anybody here in favor or on Zoom in changing anything in the Dolores River Valley? I see none in the room. Is there anybody on Zoom that is in favor of changing anything on the Dolores River Valley? Do you have anything, Shaq?
I can unmute them one at a time and we can simply ask them. Give me just a second to get my participants. 22 participants. And so I'll just go in order. And I guess, I don't know how they appear. It's not alphabetically. Amber Clark, you're on Zoom. You're unmuted. Can you tell us if you are in favor of changing anything in the Dolores River Valley?
No, I'm not at this point. I'm representing the Dolores River Boating Advocates.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have somebody named Cindy, I'm going to butcher the last name, Dvergsten. Cindy, are you in favor of changing anything in the Dolores River Valley?
No, I'm not at this point. I'm representing the Dolores River Boating Advocates.
Okay, thank you. Next.
We've got on a loop some here. Give me a second.
Somebody named, Cindy, I'm gonna butcher the last name, Dverg.
Somebody's on the phone and has YouTube playing in the
In
back.
favor of changing.
There we go.
No, I'm not. I think we need
Shaq, why don't we, somebody can raise their hand if they are in favor. So let's go back to discussion with the commissioners before we open it up to public comment. And so, commissioners, would you like to have a discussion about the Dolores River Valley part of the conversation before we start this?
Sure. I think, like I said last Tuesday in our meeting, after my conversation with the traffic engineer from CDOT and actually having an access plan, that valley is significantly different because we have a state highway and the river within it. There is no more room, and there are going to be a few places that can be widened or even to get access on and off of that. So I don't think that moving forward within the DRV makes any sense right now because we don't have that access plan, and CDOT's going to restrict it. It doesn't matter if we put it to 5 acres, 7 acres, or quarter-acre lots. If you can't have access on and off the roadway, we've done nothing but change something in the code for no reason. So I think until we can work with CDOT, and which that would be a budget restraint then because there is a cost associated with that study, and I don't know if we're going to have that funding available this year, specifically because of COVID. We might be able to get some of it, but that we just take the DRV, and this again is just my opinion, out of that specifically, other than maybe one thing, the 30-foot setback, which would then be consistent for the front, which would allow people a little bit more room on the front side of that to meet those building requirements, and then maybe just to eliminate that 230-foot diameter circle within the DRV. And other than that, I think everything else can be totally taken off the table as far as the DRV. The other parts of the county, I think those are open for conversation, and some of these, as far as the adjacent and adjoining high impacts permits, so on, those can be discussed today and then moved down to the next public hearing also. So that's what I think. I think that we are, until we can communicate with CDOT and really have an access plan put in place, I think the DRV should just, other than those two items, that's my opinion of what I've read.
Commissioner Tell?
I think that's probably a good idea. You know, you look at the Dolores River Valley right now, and there's everything from large acreage, several hundred acre ranches up there to highly congested RV parks built right along the river. You have Priest Gulch, you have the one right outside of Dolores, and there's everything in between. So that has somehow all been done through the existing land use code. You know, whatever's been built up there has been built through the existing land use code, whether you go through a PUD or whatever you do to take advantage of your property and what you want to do with your property. So I'm of that ilk as well. I think the 10-acre restriction, I think at some point you're going to have to look at that 10-acre. That's a large restriction. You know, I mean, that puts a lot of people out of ever even considering buying property up the Dolores River Valley when you put a 10-acre parcel as your minimum. But that's for another discussion some other time. But no, I'm comfortable. I think the building envelope deal needs to be addressed, and I think the adjoining property needs to be addressed. And you know, I think there's enough leeway and enough, and you know, this all started with the variance applications that we kept getting from our planning department of people wanting to do something on our property. And to me, I appreciated that. It gave me an opportunity to see what was going on. If it made sense to grant a variance, we granted a variance. If we didn't feel like it made sense to grant a variance, we didn't grant variances to certain things. So in a fashion, I like the way that forces us to take a look at development within the county. It brings it to the table. It brings it to our planning department. We all get to look at whatever that development's going to be and how we view it in our land use code. And if it warrants a variance, so we grant them. So I'm perfectly comfortable where I'm at right now, and so I think the DRV at this point needs to be left alone. I think anybody through our existing land use can do up that river valley on their own property, kind of whatever they want to do. So I think it's already there.
So you have two commissioners that, as far as the DRV, and except for the two items, are you in agreement with Commissioner?
Yes, I
Candelaria
do agree with that. I think that really restricts your property when you have those setbacks. I think the setbacks in that building envelope need to be addressed.
Well, and the other thing with that, if you look within that first 3 miles, 4 miles, I'm not quite sure where the Leitenberger Ranch is, but there's a lot of property on the north side of that highway, and it's a straight shot going from Dolores to that corner. So there is potential there, and it's close to the infrastructure. It's close to water from the city of Dolores. I don't know what
Dolores
capacity
could annex
they
up
have,
that very
but
easily
then
with sewer and water.
They could
Absolutely.
take care of that within their own discretion if they have the capability of doing it. So specifically within that zone of influence, I think there is some latitude, but that 30-foot setback, because you start that hillside, and if you keep that at 50 feet, you're becoming more restrictive and you want to move them away. So I like the 30-foot setback, which would be a countywide from the front, and then removing that 230-foot diameter, because there are a lot of properties up there that are already platted
Right.
that are long and narrow.
Yes, there are.
And then that gives them the capability of actually putting something in there.
Well, so you've heard from the two commissioners, and we've received over 100 and some comments. Thank you, folks, for sending all the comments in. And myself, as a commissioner, I think of two people that if the acreage was reduced, it would help them. Two sets of people and two sets of people only. And that would be if you were a landowner in the Dolores River Valley, and that would probably be the increased taxes for the schools. Of all of the reason the question was asked is I have not had one landowner contact me and say, you know, I like this idea. It gives me more latitude to do what I want to do with my private property. A common sense thing is that most people in this county would not build up the Dolores River anyway because of the cost associated with it. The septic systems are extremely expensive. And so it would be people with means that would build up there, and it probably would be just seasonal homes. I can't say if they would or and cannot, but we haven't had the school advocate for more taxes because of something like this. So I think you've heard from all three commissioners that when we're going to start this public hearing, that the DRV is off the table except for two items, and that's why we handed you those the paperwork on what we're proposing, the rest, because there is a lot that we're talking about of changes of the land use code. So the two changes that would deal with the Dolores River Valley are the setback.
The front setback of the 200, or the 30 feet from 50 feet, and then eliminating that 230-foot diameter circle, because if you can meet your setback requirements, you shouldn't be restricted to a building envelope within that circle.
Okay, with that being said, that is what we're going to be talking about from here forward. And I know, I've seen this before, being a commissioner for 7.5 years. You have a speech ready, and it pertains about what we took off the table, and you're going to come up here and you're going to say it anyway. So we understand how that works, but the floor is open, and this is your room.
Line forms right over here.
So if somebody would like to comment about the proposed changes, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and we have a 3 minute.
And I have a clock going if you can see it.
Dang.
I'll
My
wait till
name
you
is
get
Mary Ann Mate. I live at 301 Nevada Drive in Dolores, Colorado. I served on the Dolores River Valley Working Group for 18 months. In each session, we studied different aspects of the Dolores River Valley, and the 10-acre minimum was developed based on extensive engineering studies. So thank you for kind of taking this off the table for now. I think the 30-foot setback from the highway actually will help, because you're not going to be engineering roads way into the land and closer to the river. I do want to say that myself and friends that have traveled along the Dolores River, there are quite a few buildings on the Dolores River, right next to the river, that have come up in the last probably 5 years. And, you know, I don't know if they've asked for forgiveness instead of permission in terms of building right next to the river, but because there are no building inspections or permits issued, who would know? So I think one of the other things that's really important is that thank you for maintaining the 30-degree slope. Thank you for maintaining the 100-foot setback from the river. It's really important in terms of riparian structures and flooding that's already happened. I wanted to also comment, this was kind of upsetting. I listened to Mr. Pope talk to you guys last week about the Animas River and kind of comparing the Dolores to the Animas, and it's just not it's apples and oranges. They're so different in terms of length, valley width, structure, geology, and then also saying that those of us that were concerned were fear-mongering, and I thought that was really inappropriate. So just wanted to comment on that. Kind of in the same vein, since there are no building inspections, And there are no inspections of septic systems until once they're installed. They're basically buried. I spoke with Melissa Matthews at the health department, and the only way anybody would know if a system is failing is if somebody complained. That's the only way a further inspection would happen. And I'll come back and talk to you about transfer of title, because I think that's a really important issue too. But thank you for considering all of our comments and listening and being willing to hear what we have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Marion.
Thank you.
Morning, Commissioners. Ken Curtis, 21962 Road P, Cortez, representing DWCD. Did you have a chance to get the late letter out? Okay, otherwise,
Read your letter.
thanks for all your considerations. I just wanted to thank you for your pragmatism. When you see problems, you address them. That's really what you should be doing. And when you don't see problems, you don't go where you don't need to go. I appreciate the call from Commissioner Candelaria. I think if you take a measured approach, you can solve problems without the unintended consequences. So I appreciate that. You've done it for 7.5 years and working forward. So I'll leave it there and leave the rest of my speech behind. Thanks, Commissioners.
Thanks for your input from DWCD, Ken. It was very, very insightful.
My name's Bill Ivy. I live at 29237 Road S2. First, I'd like to thank Commissioner Ertel and Commissioner Sukla for 8 years of public service. We appreciate that. I'm here to express my opposition to reopening a debate on zoning. As long as I have lived in this county, it has been heated emotions. Currently, we find ourselves in a period of widespread uncertainty and instability. I believe this zoning proposal invites controversy. It invites bitterness. And it's at a time when people do not need more polarization. I urge the council to consider the community and not introduce a new divisive element. If this is an issue, I suggest that the newly elected Board of County Commissioners take that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Morning. My name is Larry Berger, 11333 County Road 22, Cortez. And I would like to say, as we could see, there's more people here than I thought would be because of the virus. A lot of people are scared to come out. And I'm a person that has some health problems, so I'm taking a chance being here. This should have been put off until the virus is gone and it's safe to deal with. As we could see, Zoom doesn't work very good. So we're not getting the whole community to really express opinion. I'm thankful that you took the Dolores River Valley off the table right now, but this is our home. This is where we live. This is where we pay our taxes. We pay your salary. This is where we raise our families. This is where we work, and you're messing with it. These 1 acre things just don't go. I have a beautiful home. I sit there and I look out over the La Platas, and my wife and I were sitting out there the other day and said, well, if this goes through, we'll see a tract home here, a tract home here, a tract home here. They've already built tract homes on both sides of us. I have no problem with people building tract homes. Everybody should be able to build and buy what they could afford. But what we have now is a lot of nice open spaces. That's why I live here. That's why I love it here. And I really don't want to see you guys messing with it where we're going to have to think about leaving here. I've already known a few people that have been so upset with the way the county works, they have left. And that's a fact. So anyhow, please don't mess with where we live and where we work and the area we love. You know, I know you guys love this area too, and I don't want to see it look like the Front Range. I don't want to see houses all over the place. So I'm a boater. I go down the Dolores River, and just like that lady mentioned, there's new homes. There was a new home going up right on the border of the river this year when I ran the river a few times. I don't know if they're ignorant or they just don't understand floods, but if we have a good flood, that house is gone. And if they start building sheds along the river and putting diesel and gasoline and stuff in it, that's going to be in our river. That's our drinking water. That's the water that farmers and ranchers use to irrigate their fields. Just don't make sense. So please consider our home. And also, please consider that not everybody could attend this meeting. Zoom does not work good. I don't even know how to do Zoom. And I'm sure a lot of older people, I have a lot of older friends, since I'm kind of old myself, but I have friends that are older than me that don't even own a computer, and they're very scared to come here because of the virus. You may not think the virus is a problem, that's your prerogative, but it's their prerogative to try to keep themselves safe and healthy. I'm taking a chance by being here. So thank you, and thank you for taking the Dolores River off the table right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jean Becker, and I live at 1200 Merritt Way in Dolores. As you can expect, most of my comments did relate to the Dolores River Valley, so I'm very pleased to hear that your concerns mirror the concerns of all of us at the meeting today, that we need to take that off the table, so I certainly appreciate that. I am concerned about the blanket application of 1 acre zoning to the rest of the county, the residential area of the county. This will result in significant increased population. Mathematically, if you go from a 3 acre lot to a 1 acre lot, you have the potential of tripling your population to as many as 75,000 people in the county. This will create significant traffic and significant costs for our schools. The main concern I have is that as periods of drought become the norm in our area, will there be sufficient drinking water for this increase of thousands of new residents? Where is the drinking water going to come from to serve them? I'm also, of course, concerned about the impact of septic systems on our groundwater, and what taxes will you need to levy in order to pay for the road improvements, the schools, the fire and police protection, and other demands placed on the county by a surge in the county's population. It's not just changing words on a paper when you change the lot size to only 1 acre. It has a significant increase in population demands. So I'm very pleased with what I've heard this morning, and I hope that your legacy as 2020 commissioners, a year that none of us will ever forget, I hope that your legacy will be that of the 2020 commissioners who made wise land use decisions in order to protect Montezuma County for our children and grandchildren. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Marty Robbins. I live at 37130 Highway 160, Mancos. I just wanted to remind the Commissioners of the well statutes for the state of Colorado. It takes 35 acres or more to obtain a well permit unless it's augmented. And with the development of smaller parcels, that really needs to be considered, whether it's a domestic water supplier versus a well. So just a reminder. Thank you all.
So Marty, would you clearly state that in order for the state of Colorado Division of Water Resources to issue a well permit, it has to be on a 35 acre parcel, is that correct?
Unless it's augmented, sir.
Unless it's augmented, okay.
Or a pre-existing well.
Right, something
pre-72 well.
Yeah.
And that's an in-house use only.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you. Good
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Nina Williams. I work and reside at 15801 County Road 31. I too had some comments about the Dolores River Valley, one of which Marty just addressed. I was curious how folks up there would provide drinking water for themselves if lot size, even at a 10-acre lot, was reduced even further. So thanks, Marty, for bringing that up. And thank you for taking the changes to the DRV plan off the table. Thank you, Commissioner Ertel, for voting against removing the transfer development right program so many years ago. I thought that was a valuable way to protect private property rights and also give landowners an opportunity to be compensated for not developing their land and keeping it open. So I appreciated that a few years back. But I'm disheartened by the proposal to allow development in this county at 1-acre lots. I'm curious where that's coming from. What do we want this county to look like? Do we want it to look like a subdivision? Is that really where we want to go with our county here? I get private property rights. I enjoy working my own land and land that I lease. I really appreciate that, but I don't think we can look at private property rights in a vacuum. Somehow what we do also impacts our community, and our county's land use is our community's land use. It really helps define our way of life. So I'm concerned about 1-acre lots. I don't know where the traffic will go, and I encourage the commissioners to really consider the fiscal impacts on the county of that dense of development. The most recent cost of community services study that I'm aware of in rural Colorado was done in Saguache County in 2001. And these studies show that it costs the county more to provide services to rural residential unplanned development than large farms and ranches, agricultural land, commercial land, and industrial land. So what really is the fiscal impact to that kind of development to our county? I also have a concern about where the water would come from for all these 1-acre lots. I mean, right now MVI is shutting off head gates. It's August. We're not seeing more water come to this county, so we share that water. We irrigate our acres. We quench our thirst with it. Do we have the water to support that kind of development in this county? I don't know. How do we answer those questions before we make a blanket change to our land use code, like a 1-acre lot? Blah, 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 Dolores River Valley, thank you. Thanks for keeping, thanks for keeping the 100-foot setbacks. I think those are important. I know there's pressure to change those from certain individuals. Thanks for keeping the 10-acre lot. And I just also want you possibly to consider that as we work on changes to our land use code, that maybe we look at the model that the Dolores River Working Group used. That was a diverse group of citizens that worked hard to come up with some ideas about development in this county. It wasn't a bunch of radical environmentalists saying we don't want to develop the Dolores River Valley. And we have people on that working group that live and ranch here and have for generations. So that was a really, I thought, positive way to look at land use in this county. And there's no reason that that process couldn't be extended countywide as we move forward and chart our future here. So anyways, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.
You bet.
You must have a clarification, Marty.
Yes, sir, I do have clarification.
Go ahead.
It takes a 35-acre lot in a water critical area, such
Water
as
critical.
the Mancos River, McCampbell Creek, and the Dolores River. There are tributaries that are not considered critical. So a 1-acre lot could receive a well on something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Good morning. My name is Jim Ostrom, 27515 Highway 145. Thank you very much for not making significant changes to the Dolores River Plan. I am concerned about the lack of permits and inspections for I'm concerned about lack of permits and inspection for development that happens in the valley currently. I've had some good examples of property owners coming up and making changes to the use of the property without really taking into account what the existing regulations are in terms of where they can put buildings and what kinds of developments they can put close to the river. I'd like the county commissioners to help us work to getting a inspection plan in place so that we can at least police the property owners that are making changes to the property, that be sure that they are getting the proper permits and that the sorts of structures that they're putting in are in concordance with the regulations. I think this is very important for us to maintain the integrity of what we have. As some people have noted, there are structures that are being put in very close to the river that shouldn't be going in, and I'm not really clear to me why this is happening. But if you can help us to maintain the river valley, would really, really appreciate your help. And thank you for giving us time to come up here and talk to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sam Carter, 16473 Road 26, Dolores. A few thoughts. Thanks for not making changes to the Dolores River Valley Plan today. I hope that you consider it with great care, as people are suggesting, if you do make changes. And I also would like to say I echo a lot of the thoughts, the concerns around the idea of possibly moving down to a 1 acre build-out plan. More importantly, what I want to speak to is the Dolores River, and people are speaking about development that does happen. When the TDRs were pulled several years ago, you gentlemen were at the meeting, immediately things started to change up the valley, and I don't claim to be an expert on these details. I'm seeing it say here that it's 100 feet for setbacks. There are lots of new buildings going up, as people are saying, that are not 100 feet from the riverbanks. There's one that's probably 6 feet. There's another one that creates a shadow on the riverbank. There's new bridges in place. There are lots of weirs being built. I wonder if those folks have permits, regulations, or permits from the Army Corps. So the last gentleman to speak suggested the idea of some sort of inspection to keep an eye on things. I think it'd be great. We do have these plans in place, and they are not being followed. I don't like to be a nosy person in people's backyards, which I do feel like sometimes going down the river. I go down the river a lot. You just happen to be in people's backyards. It's just kind of the nature of the game. You certainly notice the changes that go on, and it feels a little strange, but it is also happening, and I think that needs to be taken into consideration. By the time next spring runoff happens, I think you two gentlemen will be retired doing something else.
We'll be voting.
Well, come with me. If you'd like to come with me, I will take any of you down. Jim, the offer stands for you. Shaq, if you want to come along, I'll put you on there, put you in the front, get you super wet, but I'll take you guys down and show you what I'm talking about. I'm glad to do that. I think other people would do the same. We can point right to it. Thanks for your time today.
Yeah. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
My name is Bill Woody. I live at 21171 Road F, and I'm here to say that I'm very much in favor of changing the land use code. And I wanted to relate to my experience on the minimum property part of it. My brother has 20-acre tract up on that land. Well, last year I retired, and we had talked for years about me having a place up there to live. But I only wanted 1 acre. And he didn't want to give up 3. I didn't want the extra 2, but I was forced to take it. He was forced to give it, plus the expenses of it and all that. not everybody wants to be forced to take land. You know, we should have the right, property owners should have the right to dictate the property rights. And that's why I'm in favor of it. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak?
Sure. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I really do appreciate you taking the time to hear everybody's voices around this and keeping county business moving forward during the pandemic and adjusting and getting people on Zoom, who I'm sure you'll hear from next. So thank you for doing that. I don't think there's anyone who... Oh, yeah, this is, sorry. You all know me right now. This is Rebecca Samolsky. I'm at 31557 Road P, Mancus. I don't believe anybody wants to impose more stringent property restrictions on their neighbors. We all live here and we want to keep some of the things that we have in our community. I think a lot of us are just looking for more certainty around how things develop. So I'm going to try and focus and speak to the other suggested changes that you guys are thinking about. And I really appreciate what Nina said regarding taking the opportunity to really start a public engagement process around what do we want this community to look like, what are the things we want to keep. I think if there's things in the Dolores River Valley that don't make sense that we're not able to implement, we should figure out how to make them work, and how to make them be the way that we want to see that valley develop. So I was going so-so on the changes to the Dolores River Valley because there are things that you've seen come in that don't work. We had other things in place to try to compensate for private property rights with the 10-acre limit in that valley. So I think we should take a hard look at those opportunities. I want to speak to the fire mitigation because I have background in the wildfire mitigation, and I totally agree it's been inconsistent in how we've been able to implement that since that was put in place, and some of the stuff the way it's written in the code doesn't even reflect current regulations and guidance from the state. However, I think it has gotten better over time. We've got more mitigation contractors, including those who can write plans, than we've had in a very long time or ever in this community. So I would love to get out, on the ground, or get somebody from Wildfire Adapted Partnership out on the ground with you guys to see an area that's done those subdivision wildfire mitigation plans and see if there's a way to maintain that in a positive way for our community. As far as adjoining public notice, let's look at extending that public notice besides just the adjoining property owners. Oftentimes, half of those property owners are the person who's putting in the application. Maybe not half of them, but let's make sure that neighbors really do know what's going on. So I hope that we can start a more in-depth process around our land use code in the near future, and I'm glad you guys kicked that off. So, thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak in the room before we go to the Zoom?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time to listen to our concerns. I think the 3-acre requirement in this county.
Give your name, Jerry.
Jerry Koski at 20908 County Road X, dryland area. The 3-acre requirement has served this county well. We don't have many situations where sewage is running onto adjoining landowners' property. And it's not a unique situation to Montezuma County, as other counties and other states have that same requirement. So I think we need to continue with that. The setback requirements are just fine. Nobody in their right mind would build a house or a building 10 feet from the county right away. But if you change the requirements, somebody will, and then what will happen? They'll be in here talking to you about noise and dust, and then they'll want it fixed. So who pays for the fix? It's the taxpayers. So that's part of your guys' job, is to protect us as taxpayers. So those setback requirements, I think, are just fine. Somebody mentioned the notice to the adjacent property owners, which needs to be continued. If you have just notices to adjacent property owners, maybe only 2 people will be notified, but the guy across the road could be impacted just as well. One thing I'd like for people to consider is transferring of land within the families. It needs to be simplified. It needs to be a little easier. We like to have our young people stay here. I'd like to have the younger generation come back here. And I went through this process several years ago, and it was like pulling teeth to get the thing finalized. And we had to pay all the fees and all the impact fees and everything, even though we were abandoning a ranch house and putting in another house. But if we want these people to stay here, we need to kind of help them. The blowback I got was, well, we can't change that because you grant this to a family member and then he'll turn around and sell it. Well, we can protect those by deed restrictions and make those requirements that they pay those fees if they sell that within 5 years or so. Just a suggestion. The septic system situation is is a real concern to me after I saw a septic bed system fail in my area. My neighbor had one that was a build-up bed. He had a elaborate pump system in it with evaporative system. And one day it just started running water out the end of it. So it cost him a lot of money to refix it, you know. So after I saw that, I don't think you can convince me that you can push up a pile of dirt, put a evaporative system in there that make it 100% failure proof. And instead of talking about more septic systems in that Dolores River Valley, I think we need to be thinking about any new system that goes in needs to be a closed system. I think we had that requirement or talked about it a number of years ago, and then the engineers convinced us that they could build a fail-safe system. Well, I don't believe that's really true, and I think that from here forward we need more protection on that river because it's so vital to everybody in this area. So, thank you for consideration.
Thank you, Jerry. Yes, is there anybody else that's here today would like to come up and voice your opinion at the podium? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to Zoom, and we're going to see what technology is all about right here. So,
I think if you just have them raise their hand, Shaq, then you'll be able to pull them off if they have any comments.
Okay, let me, I'll just call him. Pat, if you'd unmute, I've mandatorily muted everybody. So Pat, if you'd like to say anything, this is your opportunity.
does she have to push the unmute button on her?
She does have to push the unmute
Pat,
because I locked
you're gonna
it
have
forever.
Pat, you're going to have to push the red button, the unmute button on your Zoom. Can you go to somebody else, Shaq, while
Sure.
she's trying to figure that out?
Mrs. Cuthair, is there anything that you would like to add? Cuthair.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Bernadette Cuthair, Planning Director at Ute Mountain Tribe. Thank you for having us from the Ute Mountain to listen on this important land use zoning plan and seeing where it goes. And I think right now for the tribe, the tribe is concerned about the water quality and, if there's further development in that area. So that's of interest to the Ute tribe. So I would certainly encourage no changes at this time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Bernadette.
Well, Jack, Philip has his hand.
Right now, for the tribe is
Okay, Phil Johnson has his hand raised. Phil, go ahead and unmute yourself and add any comments that you have.
Thank you, Shaq. Good morning, Commissioners. Phil Johnson, 12163 Highway 145. I just wanted to, I don't want to get into reiteration of a bunch of comments that were made. They're all good, but I do understand the need for you to balance growth and property rights with people. But I think you understand, Commissioner Supa mentioned how important the Dolores Valley is, and I would agree with that. And so much so, but I think that, you might want to look at this as a special zoning district, and bring in some professional help that is free. I know that we have taken advantage of University of Colorado Boulder Master's Program with regards to the environmental impacts or potential development there, and I know that we would be willing to help in any way that we could and avail of ourselves to participate in developing that kind of stuff. Water is super critical here. I know you're all aware of that. So it's really important that we protect that while we promote the development of the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Pat here.
Okay, go ahead, Pat. You're unmuted now.
Hi. Well, I want to thank the commissioners very much for listening to the people of the county and for considering the importance of the Dolores River Valley to the whole county. It wouldn't be here but for the Dolores River. And I live at 19856 Highway 145, and it's a privilege, but there's also an obligation to living on the river, and that is to care for it and protect it, which I have tried to do since I moved here and I was on the Dolores River Planning Group. I would suggest something. I understand your concern about variances, and I think this is something we proposed way back on the Dolores River Planning Group, but it was never implemented, that it's important to inform prospective buyers and new homeowners the importance of the floodplain for all of us, for the quality of the water, the importance of limiting density along the river and the floodplain. Those are the two most important issues, density and floodplain. And, perhaps a booklet can be written by a group talking about the importance of the floodplain to be distributed by realtors and available to all people purchasing property along the river. And education often precludes requests and demands for change. So I would like you to consider something like that. It's fairly simple. And also what Mary Ann stated, the importance of inspecting older septic systems along here. That is another critical issue when properties change, and inspection as well. But not only do I thank you, commissioners, for listening to your constituents, but I want to thank all the many people who became concerned and understanding of the importance of the Dolores River Valley to all of us, to tourists, to people who have farms and ranches in other parts of the county. I'm just very appreciative of you all, and now I am once again proud of living here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
MB, you have your
Bob?
hand up if you'd like to.
All of us, to tourists, to people who have
Go ahead,
lived
MB.
in other I'm just very appreciative
Okay.
of your,
Thank you. And thanks to the commissioners for listening.
Thank you.
There's a lot to be learned with technology here because there's a lot of.
Go
Okay,
ahead,
am
we
I?
can hear you. We
All
can
right,
hear you.
I'm talking. I don't know if you can hear me because
Yeah, we
there's a
can hear
lot
you.
of echo and a lot of overlapping conversations. It's very hard to hear. But thank you to the commissioners for taking the Dolores River. Thanks to the commissioners for listening. To be learned with technology. Yeah, now I'm hearing myself, so this makes it really hard. Thanks to the commissioners for taking the Dolores River Valley issues off of the table. I want to reinforce what I heard Nina Williams say and what I heard Becca Samolsky say about a community-based approach to future land use code changes. I want you to think about the vision for the county. What do we want to look like? I think the original Dolores River Working Group was a very good model, and it could be followed again. So I would urge that that be your legacy, Commissioner Sukla and Ertel, that you lay the groundwork for community participation in future land use planning. Thanks so much.
Thank you, MB.
Thank you.
The vision of the county, what do we want to look like?
Okay, Travis Custer.
Floor is yours, Travis.
Thank you, Shaq. My name is Travis Custer. I'm at 40160 Road J in Mancos, Colorado. I'm the Executive Director of the Montezuma Land Conservancy. Just want to extend some appreciation to the commissioners this morning for their work on this process, for listening to the community, and for taking into consideration the fragility of the Dolores River Valley and the natural resources that we all share in this community. And also just want to echo and commend other comments related to community-led process and the value of that as we move forward in planning for this community and for the inevitable growth, and also stress on natural resources that we face. And I would just like to offer up that from the Montezuma Land Conservancy perspective, we spend our time working with landowners and working with this community around these values. How do we want to see this place in the future? What are the things that are valuable to protect agriculture, wildlife habitat, natural resources, clean water, so forth. And I would just like to offer up that our organization would be more than happy to help work with the county, municipalities, and community and other organizations and stakeholders to move forward with a more robust community process and visioning, and would even be willing to work on some fundraising in that direction. So if there's ever an opportunity or an interest in that type of work, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I would be more than happy to look at opportunities for that. So thank you for your time this morning and hearing everybody out, and thank you for continuing to hold critical protections on the Dolores River Valley.
Thank you, Travis.
Amber Clark.
Thank you, Shaq, and thanks everyone for the opportunity to comment. My name is Amber Clark. I live at 740 North Beach Street in Cortez. I'm the Executive Director of the Dolores River Boating Advocates. First, I just wanted to say thank you all to each of the commissioners. I appreciated the conversations that I had with each of you last week and your willingness to talk through these issues. And thank you for listening to all the folks that have spoken up here. Of course, most of my comments were about the Dolores River Valley, and a lot of those have been made by other folks, so I don't feel the need to make them. As a citizen of this county and someone that was born and raised here and grew up on a farm in McCammell Canyon and have chosen to raise my son here, I do have concerns about some of the impacts that these proposed changes would have to the broader county. So like many others have said, really hope that you kind of take pause and really study the potential of going down to 1 acre countywide. I also wanted to say thank you for providing the Zoom meeting today. I know that a lot of people didn't feel comfortable being there in person, and still more people contacted me that couldn't participate at all because the meeting wasn't in the evening. So I guess just an encouragement to continue to make meetings like this available to everybody in the community as you move forward. I'll leave it there, but thanks so much for your time. And yeah.
Thank you, Amber.
Thank you.
Jamie, I believe you're next.
Jamie Bechtel.
Can you unmute yourself, Jamie?
Jamie Bechtel, I live at 11037 Road 40.5 in Mancus. And I want to thank the commissioners absolutely for providing this opportunity to express ourselves as citizens and your constituents. And I really want to thank you for your the decision that you made today to sort of table the Dolores River Valley in terms of applying the proposed new zoning and allowing for more dialogue with the community, because as you can see, our community coming together and expressing ourselves creates this broad mosaic of issues and concerns. And so I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I don't feel like I need to add anything. I'm certainly not the most knowledgeable on the concerns. So I wanted to make more of a personal appeal that this year has been incredibly challenging, and the river is always just an absolute highlight in my life. I'm a kayaker and I'm on that river every chance I get. And when the lower Dolores is flowing, it's like Christmas morning every time I get on that river. And this year, I was only able to get on it once because of shuttling. It made me realize how special that river is. I mean, I've seen so many animals. It's a thriving riparian corridor. And it's so important to so many people, as you've seen. And so I just want to thank you for doing anything you can to keep its health and well-being in your minds. And I like the word people have been using, legacy, throughout this conversation, and just the families that live off of this lifeblood of our community cannot be understated, whether they're farming families or whether they're families that are recreating with their children. This river is absolutely precious, and it continues on down into Toyoak, or this water splits and is used in so many different communities. And my appeal is to protect it and to do right by it and to be responsible stewards of it at all costs. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Shaq?
Next we have Cindy. I can't pronounce your last name, I'm sorry, but go ahead, Cindy.
Hello, my name is Cindy DeBergston. I live at 17702 Road 23. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Cindy. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, good. I had to use my phone. I'd like to note that I was on the Montezuma County Planning Commission 1993 to 2007. This county has always based its land use planning on a citizen-based process with a whole lot of grassroots effort and participation from the community. We also used a lot of solid research and data to go along with our decision-making. I believe that the kind of changes you've been proposing, especially the 1 acre minimum, are major changes that require a lot of thinking and a lot of research and something really solid to base that on. I think that I agree with Bill Ivey. This is not the time to launch a major planning process for this county. It is just too unstable and a challenging of a time. I believe that down the road, perhaps that would be a good idea. I appreciate your decision to table any major changes to the Dolores River Valley plan. And I echo the concerns of other citizens that, we really need to have a broad community-based process in place. And there's a lot of good history in this county. I don't think we have to start from scratch. So that's all I have to say. I also wanted to make a point that the land use plan that we have now gave very, very careful consideration to property rights, the right to farm, and the need for landowners to be flexible in how they exercise their property rights and develop their land. So I really believe that we just need to go back, revisit, and improve upon what we already have.
Thank you, Cindy, for your comments.
Thank you.
Jack?
All right.
I don't see anybody else with their hand raised.
That seems to be everybody with their hand raised. There's a few that are just on. Oh, Ken, Charles, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ken, you're up.
Ken Charles, I'm the interim town manager for the town of Dolores. And I'll just echo a lot of the comments that have been made so far. Thanking you for the opportunity and to participate in this public process. And as others have said, I appreciate and the town does, your reaction to a lot of the public comments as it pertains to the Dolores River Valley. And I just want to say that town of Dolores would appreciate it if you do move forward with some sort of planning committee, public participation process as a part of a team. I think Travis mentioned that process. We would like to be part of that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken, for your comments. Anything else, Shaq?
I don't see anybody else on Zoom indicating that they would like to speak. I could go to YouTube comments if, let me check if anybody in YouTube land wants to type in a comment.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, why don't we, if there is no more comments, then I'm going to close public comment and I'm going to go to a discussion with the commissioners. I'll give you a second on that.
I think one of them was a tiny beeper. It was too loud on there.
Oh.
So I changed it.
Okay, I don't. Let's go at this time. If there is anybody else that would like to speak, is there anybody else in the room that would like to speak? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Come to the podium.
Ma'am?
Ma'am, I have to have it. I'm sorry. We need to have it recorded. I apologize, but it.
Jamie Stevens, 16828 Road 30. Just curious about what precipitated the idea of changing the land use code to begin with.
Well, we can.
I think from my standpoint, and I think other commissioners, we commented to our planning department one day that every meeting we had variances. We had people coming up with variances to their property, wanting to do a different setback, or they've got an outbuilding on a piece of property that's only 25 feet from the property line and need a variance to do this. And so we were just kind of inundated with variances to things that people were doing with their property. So I think it was Commissioner Candelaria that came up and said, well, maybe we need to revisit this. We're seeing so many variance applications. Maybe we need to take a look at our land use code and see if maybe it's time to alter or adjust some things. And so that was kind of I think the launching point of it. And then it went to planning, and they came back with some other stuff. But if I remember correctly, that's kind of where
that was one of the components from our standpoint. The other need to that, other than just the setbacks, were the high impact permits and people moving out of an area, and then we're wanting to get industry back in here to try and create more jobs, which is part of economic development, specifically to the timber company that's just moved in. That created a lot of frustration with impact permitting. So that 1 year, that 12-month vacancy compared to what it is now, which is the same form of use, so it's still compatible to that, but then there was that process and then the impact fees that were having to be paid for that. I sit on the board of the Housing Solutions, and I believe Commissioner sits on the Housing Authority. One of the things that we are seeing is with reducing lot sizes to 1 acre, and specifically I'm talking about within the zone of influence. I'm not really looking at countywide, but close to the infrastructure, it does reduce costs because affordable housing is a big issue, not only in the country, but here in our county also. The gentleman just spoke, I don't want 3 acres, I only needed 1. So there is some concern to affordable housing that we hear about all of the time. I asked the question here in Durango, looking at the new facility that they're building, and affordable housing is different, obviously, for everybody in every geographical area. So in Montezuma County, we are still outside of those bounds of affordable housing to a lot of people. So to reduce that, keep it close to the infrastructure is another reason specifically why I was looking at it and to making it better for our community as far as development and how to take care of the people throughout the county.
For me, he's talking about the plywood plant. We all know where that is. It's the biggest building in Montezuma County. We had a company come in, and the county was going to charge them $52,800 for a road impact fee after they have hired 75 people. And it has been called the plywood plant since 1960. It's had multiple, in fact, I worked there, so it's had multiple wood processing businesses. You got a county that is sitting on $24 million in surplus. You got a company coming in here is going to spend a couple of $1 million for the infrastructure and hire 75 people. And I felt like it was wrong that you can't have a business, say that you're religious Mormon and you go on a mission for 2 years, and you own an auto body business, and you shut it down for 2 years, and then you come back and you open it back up. Well, the way that the land use code reads right now, you would have to pay road impact fees. And I believe that if that business doesn't change, even if it's the same type of business, why in the world does the government keep gouging you for more money? I heard a lot of things today about, well, you know, the rules and the regulations, and we need more rules and regulations. And so I would have to say, prove to me about how bad it is up the river now. The river in Montezuma County, from here to the 5-mile bridge, I call it, to Rico, is 20-some miles. There's 2 pieces of property for sale up. That whole valley, there's 2 pieces of property for sale. This county is about out of homes. I'm married to a realtor, and there is hardly nothing left to buy. So as far as this, well, I'll be honest, what all the realtors are telling us ever since the rioting has started, everybody wants to move to Montezuma County. and that is the honest to God truth. I know when they started. I know when the phone calls started increasing, and those people want out of that chaos. And I don't blame them. So the adjacent landowner, you know, there was a comment made, well, you know, you might be only notifying 2 if they were adjoining versus, well, the situation we had last week, adjoining was 10. So the guy's like, you know, you're wanting me to notify 50 people when I adjoin 10. So that's why that was brought up. As far as the variance, one of the comments was made, well, who's going to build a building within 10 feet of a county road? We'll drive up to County Road T.5, which is where this sawmill is. And if you go down there half a mile, you're going to run into the Montezuma Water Company. And measure how far that building is from that county road. It's 10 feet. There was a situation where that water company, which has got millions of dollars worth of infrastructure inside of it, had to be that far away from the county road. So all of these issues that we have brought up, there has been, in the last 7 or 8 years, there has been situations that have caused them. You've got a gentleman that has lived here all of his life that lives on Road L. He lives in a rock pile. And you couldn't have the ground that he lives in. He's got 2 boys, and he lives on 5.8 acres. And he wants to give this rock pile, he wants to be able to give, because of the county, 2 acres to his son, to give him a head start, to give him a lift up so that he can keep his children here. And that's what brought it up. All of these issues that we've experienced, we're trying to mitigate and fix. As far as the comments that are made, there was 100 comments that was given to us. One of the comments says, well, Commissioner Tell and I are somehow going to profit. I don't own any land up the river. In fact, since I've been a commissioner, I think I've lost about every friend. So I don't have any friends up the river either. So I don't have any personal gain for it. I'm just trying to do what's best for the children. I mean, that's what this is end up going to be, is what's best for the children.
I think the biggest thing to consider here is any land use code is a living document, and it's not set in stone and time. It does have to be looked at. It does have to be changed, and with engineering, with different practices, things do change. I realize that, and I really appreciate the passion of the, I think, 130 emails we've read, some of them pleasant and nice, and some of them not so very nice. So, but I do appreciate the passion. But again, this is a living document, and it does have to continue and go on. So, in regards to having us not continue with business, we are going to continue with business. Zoom is probably a part of our life. I hope everybody does a little homework and learns how to use it, or GoToMeeting. I know for the commissioners, we had to learn very quickly. We had a crash course overnight, and specifically dealing with the state. So this is part of a new normal. We are going to continue business, and it could be through Zoom, and I appreciate you staying home if that's what you feel like you need to do. But we are going to make the process available through the different modes of transportation that we have through technology.
All right, at this time, we're going to close public comment, and we have some questions that we probably need to answer, and that is, when we're going to have the next meeting. We would accept comments. Again, we encourage more comments about the issues that are still on the table. And then, but we're going to have, is it one meeting enough, commissioners? Would you like to have 2?
I would like to give the planning department time to have at least 1, maybe 2 meetings before it comes back to us.
Yeah.
So I think, when do they meet, Don?
When's the next commission meeting, Don?
Second Thursday.
Meet
of
on
every
September
month.
10th.
September 10th? Is there a next one?
Correct.
So
Okay.
that would give them the opportunity to go over the other changes that are on the table before it comes back to our second public hearing.
So we can just set ours up
Maybe the
a week after
17th
that.
or 17th?
2 weeks, because we got a public notice,
Okay, 2
anything.
Do
weeks
the
after that.
24th
Yeah.
or the 22nd?
Would that work, Mr. Haley?
Yeah, I don't know that we need to wait on the public notice to come back for the public hearing here, unless you're wanting new or updated recommendations in writing from P&Z.
I just want to be able to make sure they have enough time. So I don't think anything is new coming up unless
So
they
No, I think,
come up
so
with
we
something.
could public notice it so that you can meet the following Tuesday or,
I think Commissioner Ortell will be gone.
okay.
Oh, correct.
I should be back, I should be able to be back the 22nd. I hope.
So,
Well, I guess my only concern is we all know that the majority of the focus was on the Dolores River Valley. And now that focus has been changed to the rest of the items. And so actually what we did is we've already put in a format. Everybody knows how to get a hold of us now. So it's not like we should get more comments because we already have our address. So I think that as long as, I don't know about the public, they could have a discussion about it, and they might just say, we stand where we stand, but then it
That's
needs to come back to us.
So September 22nd? Is that correct, Seth? Looking at that. That gives
That
them
would-
time to have their meeting,
Uh,
and then we could do it the very next.
I guess by that point, you should be able to zoom in if you're not back.
Certainly, without
So-
a doubt.
Could we have a motion then to continue this public hearing to,
September 22nd? I would so move. I would move that the Board of Montezuma County Commissioners move ahead with a public hearing on the 22nd day of September, and we will revisit this, the land use issues that will go back to the P&Z and see if they have any other recommendations.
Second.
motion and a second to continue this public hearing to September 22nd at 9 a.m. For the continued discussion of the proposed changes to the land use code. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the time out of your day. We know how important it is to come and voice your
Participate.
concerns about your community.
Yep.
Thank you all.
What's on our,
Good job.
Next is lunch at 11:30, unless you guys want to give your reports. I was expecting that to take another hour longer than it took.
well, you quit throwing curveballs at me about what time to be here, and I will quit throwing curveballs at you.
No, I like reacting to curveballs. Let's keep it up.
I love yours.
What are you talking about? Yeah.
So we could go into your reports and then break for lunch. James Dietrich won't have a report this week.
I actually have something really quick too. if-
Yes,
if I
please.
can get
Yeah,
on
well,
there.
let's listen to Kim.
So, on a couple of these CARES Act grants that have come to me from the Secretary of State's office, they have me as the person who signs, but above it, it has the Board of County Commissioners. So I asked John how we should proceed with that, and he wanted me to bring it up to you guys just to verify that you guys would be okay if I was the one that was signing these. One of them is for the extra judges' pay. It was an extra $3 an hour for the election judges. It was a total of $878. And then the other one was for the ballot drop box that we're gonna put at City Hall, and it's like $2,000. So, but he did want me to, and he.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
That's all part of your, so do we need to motion that?
That's part of your election stuff.
You can motion it if you want to. I mean, why don't you motion it? I just thought that, I know it's her department, but it is budget stuff, so I just wanted you all to know about it.
And it does specifically say Board of County Commissioners, and then below it
And then
says.
Kim Purcell.
Kim Purcell Clerk. So I don't know why, and it does say clerk, not commissioner.
Right. So if you guys are okay with her signing that, yeah, I just wanted you motion to okay that.
Sure, so I'd move that we give Kim Purcell, the county clerk, the ability to sign for the ballot and the overage on the
Election
$3
judges.
for the election judges for the state grants.
Second.
Motion and a second to give the clerk and recorder, Kim Purcell, the authority to sign for the election officials' increase in pay and the ballot, the new ballot box. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Which commissioner?
I
Let's
think
see,
John
how about
would
the
go next.
county attorney report? You want one of the commissioners go first, John?
No, I just wanted to see if there's anything I needed to update you all on. I think we covered pretty much everything today that I was going to. We don't have any dramatic new developments in any of our pending cases, so I don't have anything more to report.
All right, commissioners, want to give?
Only thing, I was gone a good part of the week to Grand Junction, and I tell you, fire season is still alive and well in western Colorado, so everybody be very careful with, I know the fire ban has been lifted, and I know the Forest Service and all of them have lifted their fire bans, but I'm going to tell you, from what I saw up on the Book Cliffs and up Glenwood Canyon, fire is alive and well, and boy, they're on fire up there. I mean, that whole place is covered in smoke and ashes and stuff. So be very careful with your fire. That's all I have.
And I would have to agree with that also.
In
Be-
Colorado history, yeah.
Be very careful. You know, we did give this back to you for personal responsibility, so if you don't have to burn, please don't do it. I mean, it can wait, but if there is something that you have to take care of, you can take care of it. Part of the big discussion was at the TPR meeting, obviously all of the work that's going on in the city of Cortez with the new light out there at Hawkins and the Main, and then a bunch of the ADA ramps. One of the things that we discussed, like Shaq mentioned earlier, was Charge Ahead Colorado. That's correct. So we are going to be looking and focusing more on what we can or cannot do to get a rapid charging station at Tier 3 here. Hopefully we'll be successful this time, and whether it's through a battery and a trickle charge and or through some three-phase power, that'll be, we'll wait to see about that. I was at the MAC group meeting, as I asked Mr. Spratland again this morning, to make sure that we have enough PPE so that the hospital, all of the sheriff, fire departments, all of the agencies that are using all of the PPE, that they make sure that they have enough, and I will follow that back up with that meeting. An email to Senator Quorum, obviously did a lot of research on the Dolores River Valley and the floodplains, and that's all I have.
I would just encourage our schools to keep working on opening up safely. I know they've had since March 15th to get the schools open, and they delayed it a week. So I don't know how much time it takes, but my daughter's driving me crazy. Would you please get those schools back open? Thank you. I have no more comments. Do you think that Mr. Dietrich is available?
He has no report today.
Okay. Well, then we're going to, I guess, because of our timeline, we're going to have to wait until 1:30 for the Dolores, well, for the other three, correct?
Correct.
All right. Well, folks, we'll meet back here at 1:30 for the rest of the agenda. Thank you. And thank you, our planning department. We definitely are taxing you with this stuff. We understand, so.
Thank you, guys.
But we did hire you talking about some updates to the plan, if I remember correctly.
That's right. That's right. That was part of the go-ahead on that, was we're going to look at it. Yeah.
And you